All right, let's get right into it. We're talking about the fourth Harry Potter book, The Goblet of Fire. And trust me, this is the one where everything, and I mean everything, changes. The story just takes this massive turn, leaving a lot of that early book fun behind and diving headfirst into something much darker, much more serious. This is the real turning point for the whole series.
And you know it's different right from page one. See, this book doesn't open with Harry at all. Instead, we're thrown into this super creepy, abandoned old mansion called the Riddle House. It was the scene of this really strange, unsolved crime 50 years ago. And by starting here, with the villain's perspective, we immediately get this sense of real danger. The tone is set, and honestly, it's chilling.
So yeah, let's start where the book starts, with the dark and twisted events that really set the stage for everything that's about to happen. So let's get the backstory straight. Picture this. 50 years ago, the whole Riddle family just drops dead. No wounds, no poison, nothing. Just pure terror frozen on their faces. The cops arrest the gardener, a guy named Frank Bryce, but they have no evidence, so they have to let him go. Now, flash forward to tonight. Frank is an old man, still living nearby, and he sees a light on in that same house that's been empty for decades. So what does he do? He goes to investigate. Frank creeps up to the door, and inside, he hears two men talking. One has this kind of timid, scared voice. That's Wormtail. He seems to be taking care of the other guy, who's hidden from view. And this second man's voice? Well, it's described as being unnaturally high-pitched and just bone-chillingly cold. And the conversation Frank overhears, it is horrifying. These two are plotting a murder. They're waiting for the Quidditch World Cup to be over, using it as a distraction. They even casually mention that they've already killed a Ministry witch. And who's their ultimate target? A boy named Harry Potter. There's only one person this could be. Lord Voldemort is back. This line right here tells you so much. Wormtail actually suggests using a different wizard for their plan, to make things easier. But Voldemort just flat out refuses. His focus on Harry is totally obsessive, and it sets up this feeling of an unavoidable, very personal showdown. Well, of course, Frank the gardener is discovered listening in. There's a sudden flash of green light, a rushing sound. And that's it. The very first chapter ends with the brutal, instant murder of this poor old man. And in the exact same instant that Frank dies, boom, the scene cuts, just like in a movie. 200 miles away, our hero, Harry Potter, bolts awake in his bed, his forehead searing with pain. That connection between the two of them is immediate, and it's visceral. So, this brings us to Harry's side of the story, and that very real, very painful link he shares with this terrifying dark wizard. So, what is this connection? It all comes down to his famous scar. See, it's not just some old mark, it's like a living psychic link. When it burns like this, it's a huge warning sign. Harry quickly realizes he didn't just have a bad dream. He actually witnessed that murder through Voldemort's own eyes. But here's the problem, right? Harry's stuck for the summer with his awful relatives, the Dursleys, and they absolutely hate anything and everything to do with magic. I mean, can you imagine him trying to tell them he just had a prophetic murder dream? He's completely and totally alone with this terrifying information. So he's running through the options in his head. Who could he tell? Well, his best friend Hermione would mean well, but she'd freak out, tell him to write to Dumbledore, and probably bury her nose in a book about curse scars. And Ron? He'd be worried for sure, but he might just brush it off a little. Harry needs to talk to an adult who actually gets it. And then it hits him. There is one person. His godfather, Sirius Black. Now, the situation's a little complicated. Sirius is a fugitive, on the run after being wrongly accused of murder, so they can only communicate through secret letters. But he's the one wizard Harry trusts completely. Okay, so just as we're stuck in this really dark, isolating moment with Harry, the whole tone of the story just flips on a dime. We go from all this fear and secrecy to a sudden rush of hope and pure excitement. A letter arrives, but it doesn't come by owl. It comes through the regular mail. It's from Ron's mom, Mrs. Weasley, and she clearly has no idea how Muggle Post works. The whole envelope is just plastered with stamps, which of course drives Harry's very normal Uncle Vernon absolutely nuts. And this letter, it's a total lifeline. It's an invitation to go to the Quidditch World Cup final. Better yet, it means he gets to leave the Dursleys 2 weeks early and spend the rest of the summer with the Weasleys. For Harry, this is basically a get-out-of-jail-free card.
So, Harry, being pretty clever, comes up with this brilliant little plan. He knows his uncle will probably say no just to be difficult. So, when Uncle Vernon starts to refuse, Harry plays his ace. He just casually mentions that he needs to send a letter to his godfather. You know, the man the Dursleys think is an escaped mass murderer.
And it works like a charm. Absolutely terrified that this supposed killer will show up on their doorstep if Harry's unhappy, Uncle Vernon immediately caves. Harry is free to go. It's such a great little moment of victory for him. And that brings us to the final part of this opening section, Harry's absolute joy and his last few hours stuck at number 4 Privet Drive. Harry doesn't waste a single second. He sends a super fast, joyful yes back to the Weasleys. Then he writes another letter to Sirius, telling him about his scar, but also sharing the good news about the World Cup and where he'll be for the rest of the summer.
And you gotta love the reversal of fortune here. Downstairs, his horrible cousin Dudley is suffering through a new diet of grapefruit. But upstairs, Harry is secretly feasting on the birthday cakes his friends sent him, just savoring every single bite of his soon-to-be freedom.
So his trunk is all packed, his letters are sent, and now there's nothing left to do but wait. He's just counting down the minutes and hours until the Weasleys show up to bust him out of there and take him back to the magical world where he belongs.
Which leaves us with one big hanging question. Harry is escaping to the Quidditch World Cup, a symbol of everything he loves: magic, friendship, excitement. But we know from that poor old gardener's final moments that this is the very event Voldemort is using as cover for his evil plan. So is Harry's greatest moment of joy this summer actually leading him right into his greatest enemy's trap?